Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Adventure Paradox podcast. The guest we have today, this is actually very special that we're airing this today because I was also on her show and it's airing this week. And I'm so excited to have you here in the space, Dana. And before I get into introducing you properly, how are you and where in the world are you zooming in from today?
I feel phenomenal. I mean, especially on a Monday, it feels magical. And I actually asked myself earlier, I'm like, are Mondays supposed to feel this good? Because it does. And maybe it's because of where I live, which is New Orleans, Louisiana. Possibly.
Mm.
It is a magical place
Mm.
in the world. It's like the vortex of magic here.
Mm. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And I feel like this is a common theme here at the Adventure Paradox is where do you call home? And if you don't love your hometown, what's going on? And that
Yeah.
ultimately home is also a spiritual space that we carry with us wherever we go. But you're reminding
Yes.
me, I was at the top of Corbett's at Jackson Hole Mountain Resort this weekend. I had visitors in town and we were getting waffles, if you know anyway. And I asked the checker, like, how are you doing today? And you know what his answer was? He said, I am borderline terrific.
Oh, yes. I'm
I was
borrowing
like,
that.
I am gonna take that on, I am gonna pass that one along. All right, cool. So now that we're here having a magical Monday, borderline terrific, all these things, a proper introduction. We have here Dana Hunter Fradella. She is a transformational success coach for women on the verge of a breakthrough. Oh my God, like, yes, raise my hand. Every
Yes.
one of us, every day, especially on a Monday. She's the founder of Girls Who Recover, host of the top 5% ranked Girls Who Recover
Woo, yes.
podcast, a sought after speaker, and a mom of three wild girls. Congratulations on all parts. Over the past 2 decades, Dana has helped hundreds of women transform their lives, careers, and finances, shifting from burnout and limitation into personal breakthroughs, abundance, and fulfillment. Her specialty is guiding women to transform their biggest setbacks into their most gorgeous comebacks and create
Hmm.
lives that have all their friends saying, um, I'll have what she's having. Yes,
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 you
yes.
nailed it.
Not lost
Nailed
on
it.
me. For those listeners who are like, where have I heard that? What is that again? Can you take us back into when Harry met Sally and that incredible scene and why you put that in your bio?
Well, it's the energy of her yes, where she's just banging on the table of her life and saying yes, yes, yes. Like the whole moment is a spiritual orgasm. And the reason why people in the cafe say, I'll have what she's having is because that's the way we're supposed to live. And it draws other people in and to us because we remind them of the yes that's possible when we lean all the way into it. How
Dana,
could that not
preach.
create a breakthrough? Like if we just sat here and did yes all day, I promise it would create magic in the momentum of your life.
Yes. Yeah, you're preaching to the choir here. Yes, 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 mirroring it right back. And let's talk about that breakthrough because there is the other side of not being in the yes, being in the space of the observer. I want, why is she in the yes and I'm in the no or some variation of the spectrum?
Yeah. I mean, also, can we give a shout out to Meg Ryan before we go there? Because
For
I mean,
sure,
her
for
whole
sure.
character and life. And yes. And so, first of all, we're socially programmed for the no. We'll just
Mm,
call that out. So it's not like we're playing a blame game or we're looking in the mirror and asking, what's wrong with me? We're actually just taking a step back and saying the whole program, the whole domestication of the planet is here to keep us, and I mean us, like specifically women, safe and small and stuck. And so the fastest way for control and protection is no, because that would feel
mm,
unsafe, or no, because that's not logical, or that's not realistic, or like some of, the words that are used as weapons against us. Like that's not reasonable.
mm.
I want to give you an example of real time. Ready? Okay.
Yeah,
Not okay, good.
yeah.
I told you I had three wild girls, and one of them has an entrepreneurial spirit, which I totally support. And so she said, Mom, we're gonna have a lemonade stand. And I said, let's make it magical. How could we make it magical? She said, I'll make cookies. I said, how can we make it more magical? She said, let's bring the bunnies and add a package deal. And we did. She orchestrated it. If you're familiar with fair play, she totally went CPE, conceptualized planning and execution. And as we set up our table, the person who loves them the most, I won't name the names because it doesn't matter. It could be this, it could be that. It doesn't matter the who, came and said, well, you sure picked a bad time to set up a lemonade stand. The Saints just finished and it's almost evening time. And like, maybe you should pick a different time. And so I just like let that settle. I noticed it. I'm watching her noticing. I'm not mad about it because, of course, what's what I'm talking about. Socialize to the no, to question, to judge, to wonder about the what if on the negative side. And so I said, Ava, ask them what they would like. Would they like a lemonade? Would they like ice? Would they like cookies? Would they like to pet the live bunnies that you brought to make this place magic? And so she did. She just asked and she sold. And Kat, her business sold out in 48 minutes. No
Of
more
course
cookies,
it
no more
did.
lemonades. And the bunnies had to get sent home because they were so overstimulated by all the love. And
Mm,
so that's what I mean. In a real time, out of conceptual into reality, the people that love us the most have been trained to protect us with their own fear.
mm,
And so
mm.
in our conversation, we had like a business debrief last night where we did the mathing and we did the dreaming, we did the reflecting. And I said, what did you think when you heard that? And she's like, well, I was a little worried, but I knew the lemonade was so good. We were still going to have a good day. And I said, and what did you notice when you decided not to subscribe to that idea and decided to go with what you dreamed of?
Mm,
She said, it felt really good. We sold out in under an hour. And
mm.
I'm just like, yes, ma'am, I've done my job. If yesterday was literally the last day I got here, it would have been a done deal for me.
So good. Oh, so good. And it's so interesting because I had a very similar experience last night with like a similar thing. So I'm going to share it real quick. So we got on our horses. It was like 8 o'clock at night. It's getting pretty dark. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of time to call it. We're taking a ride around the loop. And one of my girls wanted to switch horses. The smallest girl, I have two wild girls. She wanted to go from the pony to a bigger horse, but we're bareback. It's not an easy thing to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so she's like, well, we could do it. I'm just going to pull the pony up next to the bigger horse and climb up, right? There's a whole meltdown. She's crying because she's really been wanting to get on the horse for 5 minutes and now she's walking the pony. And my husband said, he said, this is how accidents start. It's dark. It's the end of the day. It's the end of the night. And I was like, oh, well, I don't think that's very helpful. And also, you do have a point. I get you. But like now that you have actually put that statement into the space, we all have to process this no, this negativity, this programming of, but this could happen, right? That the Saints are playing, the weather, like this really interesting. And so I moved in. Horses are herd animals, right? Because I knew my horse a little closer to those horses. Instead of moving away, they're all going to want to kind of chill a little more. And we're going to watch and we're going to send energy for them to succeed. And they're going to feel so empowered. And they totally did in the dark on
Yes,
the way
it's
home. So it's like it's the modeling, but it's also the mentoring. And I feel like as moms, we're so blessed to be in this time and space where we're doing our own work so that we can see it when the work is present for us to do and witness and pass on something different to our kids and with our partners. And I'm just curious, like you're a little bit more about your journey and your history. How did you start to shift? Like, did you always sort of see the world differently, or what was your own personal breakthrough?
That is such a gorgeous, enormous question. So I'll do my best. And the answer is yes and no. And so I've found my path to have different twists and turns. And as a young child, I want to go back and believe that I had no problem imagining and dreaming. I want to go back and believe when I can get really present with her that she had no problem. I know she had her own pony, this little version of me. In fact, she had her own pony and her own horse and did brave things like hop on them and run as fast as she could bareback through the pond and through the farm. And then there's this part that happened around 10 when my parents got divorced and I had to quote unquote grow up. which means
Mm,
ground into the domestication about what's real and what's reasonable and what's logical and what's safe. Because in my nervous system, what didn't feel safe, I'm asking the questions that I think a lot of us are still asking, like, is this my fault? Did I do something to deserve this? Is this on
mm,
me? And so the light sort of dimmed on potential, on the imagination, on what I believed was possible and deserving. And then it all went downhill from there, Kat, until a very moment, which I've shared with you about. From 10 until 28, I would be inspired at short intervals, but then also saturated with things like self doubt. Doctors would use words like anxiety or depression. What I really realized is that there was a separation that happened at that time that I wasn't equipped or skilled enough to close and reconnect. And so, long story short, that looked like eating disorders. It looked like mental health disorders. It looked like gnarly alcoholism. And
mm.
so, plus things like my dad died tragically, even though he'd been sober for a long time. And um, just thing after thing after thing, which a lot of people would be like, yeah, you're not wrong. Of course, you've had a hard life, right? The socialization of it's okay to be down. It's okay to wallow. It's okay to adopt victimhood and self pity. We'll support that and encourage that and even give you a buy you a drink to hopefully make you feel better. Okay. So then there's a break. I can't call it a breakthrough just yet. It was a break open, the
Mm.
catastrophe of what it took for me to get sober, which maybe is a whole separate conversation. And then there was a wake up. It was like part of me died, that part of me that was disconnected, that was spiraling, that was lost. And because I got the gift of, at first it was called sobriety. It's still the foundation, right? Like that hasn't changed. But that what gave me a wake up. And it was like, oh, there's more than this. There's more than that. There's a connection. There's a possibility. There's a spirit. And then I started to say yes again. Yes to that because it feels fun. Yes to that because I've never done that before. It's healthy and I'd love to. Yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. And now I get to be the teacher of the yes, which has to come from this belief that I'm connected to something bigger than me. I'm
Mm.
There's a spark in me that still knows I'm worthy and deserving just out the factory model. So I'm going to allow myself the space to dream again. And that can be dreams, big dreams, or it could be the dream of this conversation being a freaking blast. And then the
Mm.
permission to say yes to that.
Oh, so good. So good. Something I heard you say in there, and I think a common theme is like this idea of deserving something or of
Mm,
worthiness, right? And then this crossing over, getting sober, right? That moment of, huh, something about what I was doing. I got to unsubscribe and change and DSD, do something differently, right?
yes.
So differently. As the host of Girls Who Recover, and I want to talk about your podcast too, but let's just talk about recovery and your recovery journey a little bit. And a friend of mine who's not in recovery was asking me recently, what's this whole thing about saying you're in recovery instead of saying you are recovered? And I was thinking about that a
Hmm.
little bit with the idea of getting sober versus, something I talk about is it's one thing to be sober, it's another thing to be sober and clean, which to me is like you're in a process of spiritually working through your stuff without dousing it with alcohol, without dousing it with something mind altering to not feel the true feelings. Because sometimes life is lifey. So, yeah, can
Yeah.
you tell us a little more about recovery, specifically your story and recovered and all those good things?
Absolutely. So I try not to get into arguments really at all. It's like not helpful for me, but there is a contingency, especially in the recovery community, that they're like, well, the book says recovered, but I want to know that I'm in recovery forever. And I'm like, hey, do you love your life? What's going on? Like, are you being love in the world right now? Because that's actually what recovery means at the core of it is, are you filled with love and light? And I don't mean that in the magic woo way. I mean, when you wake up in the morning, are you excited about your 24 hours?
Mm,
When you think about your relationships that mean the most, are they centered in love and compassion and understanding? Because for me, that's what clean recovery looks like. And a lot of times, especially with the women that I get to serve as a coach, they'll have years in recovery, but they'll still have some blind spots around, well, I thought life was supposed to be hard. I had someone on my
Mm,
porch this morning who said, because life is hard. I was like, really? Is it? Is that your experience? Do you think my life is hard? If you looked out into the neighborhood, does it appear as if the neighborhood is having a hard time? So it's this like waking up to the possibility of a new agreement, a new experience, and that being as simple of, she was holding one of my coffee mugs. And I said, why don't you look at the coffee mug and what would it be like if you swapped what was on the coffee mug for your old belief that life is hard? And guess what the coffee mug said? It's a brand. Life is good. It's good. I was like, I don't think they make a brand unless they were onto something. It's also happened to be something my dad used to say all the time. So
mm,
bless him for instilling that belief that, like, actually life is not, I don't have evidence of my life being really hard. Although I could tell you the story and part of you might be like, well, that was hard. And maybe it was at the time. And I don't want to discount this idea that like we're having a hard time or there's a challenge. Like, I don't want to, there's no burying my head in the magical sand, but it's coming back to, and this is what I really believe recovery is coming back and remembering what is actually true, who
mm,
you actually are, being a daughter of the infinite or a daughter of the divine or a daughter of some really incredible parents or whatever your claim to fame is. You are a daughter of something really special. And the only recovery has for me, been, you mentioned it, letting go of the stuff that's in the way and then
mm,
remembering what was true the whole time. Things like, of course, I'm deserving. I was made that way.
mm,
Of course, I'm
mm,
worthy. That's part of the operating system. It's like Apple has different things that come on iPhones. We come into the world with factory setting of worthiness that cannot be changed in any way. You can't update the factory setting. You can't download an app to override it. You can put some shit on top of it that will help you forget. And the recovery is the remembering. So for me, it looked like sobriety because I was dumping alcohol on this fake news belief that I was separate. I wasn't
mm.
worth it. I wasn't deserving. I didn't have what it takes. Things that I, hear women come say all the time and they don't even have alcoholism. It's like, what is in the water right now that we're having to have these conversations about, am I good enough? Like, what the, can I say it?
If you
What
want.
the fuck? Are you good enough? Really? Yeah. Okay. Well, let me just say yes. And then what's the real question here?
Mm, mm,
And I don't know that I answered the question very specifically, but that whole process of sobriety is the gateway to me being like, oh, that's possible for me. Oh, look at this community that's so loving. That means it's available for me. Then I can become that way. And then I remember I am that. And
mm.
it's not a journey that like happens me, myself, and I in my bedroom. It's like a lot of action, the doing that creates the difference. And
Wow.
the podcast is all about setback to comeback and what recovery transformation looks like. And it can look like somebody who got sober, or somebody who recovered from an abusive relationship, or somebody who recovered from an disordered eating, or somebody who recovered from over functioning and over performing.
Mm, mm, mm.
So I love that we associate recovery and sobriety. I think we should still do that. I like it. I think it's sexy. And also, there's this movement of recovery that's essentially of remembering that no matter what, there is a transformation available to you. So you can actually use your biggest shame, use the thing that makes you feel the worst as your greatest source of power to not only set
Mm,
yourself free, but also to be I mean, we talked about light earlier, to be a light in the world or just for the next person you meet.
mm. Oh my God, so good. Ah, mic drop. Like, I'm getting chills from this. Okay. It's making me think about, and one of my favorite sayings is that relationships are Miracle Grow of the program, right?
Yes, please. Yes.
And I was listening to this podcast about, let's see, what was it? It was like when pursuers burn out pursuing avoiders. Okay. So it's this like
Mm,
couples, convo. And one of the things that came out of this was this idea that instead of being 50-50 in a relationship, you're both operating at 80%. Like you're
Ooh.
both trying to give way more, right? Way more. And I feel like part of the magic of like the full body capital YES that is possible in what you're talking about is that you suddenly see that what you thought it was but the tip of the iceberg on like what's actually available and actually out there and your biggest dreams. And like what you're doing with your podcast is so powerful. And I would love to just hear, you know, what your tip of the iceberg on what this podcast is about and what it's doing. And then where do you want to see it go?
Oh my goodness. Can I bring it into my bedroom though for just a hot minute?
I mean, why
Because
not? Yes, yes,
I
yes.
I want to tell you something that came through while you were talking. I was like, "Oh my God, this is happening right now." So in my marriage, also shout out to you. You said something a while back in one of our conversations that totally reoriented my paradigm around my marriage. Thank you. I'll tell you about it later.
Sure.
And I realized that this is what has been happening in my marriage is that I'm 80% when what feels actually free and a yes is when I'm more like 50 or 40 or like not worried about the numbers, but like not leaned all the way in. And so what that has looked like recent, like literally in the last 2 weeks is my husband, God bless our husbands, I love them so much. He
Yes.
he is used to me being available to lean in on lots of things. And now he's juggling many a thing. So he's a full, he's a husband, he got a new job, he started his master's degree, plus where he's also in recovery. So that's priority. And he's totally dysfunctional right now because it's a lot. It's a lot
Oh,
for
oh,
anybody. And
sure.
so my gold here has been what would it feel like to lean out and allow him to feel empowered through his own personal challenge so that he's not reliant on his hot wife to like come in and have counsel or advice or fix or do. So it's been
Mm,
a lot of like not and a lot of I'm not I can't do that right now or I can't do
yeah.
it or I am encouraging you and I believe in you, but like that your car insurance is not it's not my card today. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Going back
yeah,
to
yeah,
fair,
yeah.
are you familiar with fair play? We're using all these fair play references. Totally
No, I'm
recommend it.
not.
It's life changing in a marriage. And basically, there's a lot to be done in a family. You know this, and these gorgeous, brilliant women have condensed it into a pretty significant card deck that's like every card is something that gets to be done in the family. So meal prep, the tooth fairy, drive to school, signing the homework, making the doctor's appointments, handling meltdown. So everything gets a card. And so I had a bunch of cards. And I was like, you get to have that one, and you get to have that one, and you get to have that one. And so the 80% becomes freedom for me because it looks more like
Mm,
50%.
mm.
And for a recovering, listen to this, recovering overachiever who needs to be 100% all the time, that feels like so much freedom and grace.
So good. And thank you for saying that and also explaining to us what fair play is because there is this, and coming back to the programming and all of us waking up right now, it's been really not equally weighted, for our
Mm.
mothers, for our grandmothers, for a
Mhm.
very, very long time. And I think that programming in a marriage and also over functioning
Hooray,
recovered
overfunctioning. I need
person
a shirt,
here.
recovering overfunctioner.
I can definitely go back into those patterns though of over functioning and okay, then, I'll stock the fridge with cold drinks because I heard you say you're the only one who does it, even though you drink most of those. But anyway, it's like it's so funny to see ourselves and how we are talking in our minds, but then also the actions in our interactions. So I love like having those cards, sharing them with the family, like really sharing as such a, space of recovery. And I'd love to hear more about maybe some of your guests and like what's going on in your show and what you see for where you want it to go.
Thank you for that question and for allowing me to distract just for a second so I could really
Sure.
stew in it. When I started the Girls Who Recover podcast, I had no idea. I was like, I want a podcast. I have things to say. My clients are bringing me these things and I want to talk about them. And I also want to give voice to our deepest shame. And that's, I couldn't have even told you that. I'm like, I want to teach a little bit about what I know to bring more elevated recovery consciousness, next level recovery to the world so that women can create lives that they love. That's like my whole thing. Like, do you love your life? Great. How can we love it more? Do you not love it? Great. What can we like? What do we need to unleash? Or so that was the tip. Like, let's tell some stories. Let's tell the truth in a way that's kind of unfiltered. I happen to be very direct. I'm going to call it out as I see it, just in case no one else has been brave enough to love you in that way. So I
Mm.
wanted to share that. And I also was in this incredible community led by a beautiful visionary who was like, your voice matters and you have something to say that could change someone's life. And since I have experience doing that, not just with coaching, but also and especially in recovery, I said yes, yes, knowing no idea about the how or the what and the tech, blah, blah,
Mm.
blah. So underneath that has been something so profound that I often sit in the middle of my own interviews and I'm like, what is even happening right now? What? You experienced that and you lived through it and now you've transformed and you're experiencing this totally new reality. Tell us how you did that. And this is what's underneath it all that I don't know that I could even have said before I started the podcast is our deepest shame is our most potent tool to set ourselves free and to set each other free. Not because we're saviors coming in like I know anything, but because when I speak life into the things that I felt deeply ashamed of, like I was basically fired from my own dream job because of a sexual harassment complaint that was like maybe legitimate. I don't know, because I was often drunk at the time. The deepest humiliation and like the fall, the fall to the ashes, speaking truth into the specifics of that so that the woman on the other side of the earbud says, oh, me too. You did that.
Mm.
So a couple things happen. Relation, which is a connection, which in my opinion is all there is. Two is a realization that I'm not alone. Three is a tool, at least one, to say, okay, I'm in this situation or I have been in this situation. What can I do? Because I'm trusting
Mm.
the other woman so deeply because she had the audacity to tell the truth, the gnarliest version of the truth about her own experience. Not so she could say, and now everything's fine. Because if you're perfect, you don't get to come on a podcast. Okay. Those women or people, I love them so much, and they're not invited. It's a specific story. And there are so many that now I'm inundated with like, I want to tell my story. I want to tell my story. And I'm like, me too. Let's get it. Let's schedule it. And so that is that's the next layer under the iceberg. And I have no idea what the next one's going to bring, but I am here for it.
Mm. So good. Well, and I think that I am here for it. And I don't know if you heard my mini-sode this morning, but I was talking about you're ready when you say you are,
Yes.
right? And like for me, one of the biggest things recovery has taught me is that whatever this day brings, I'm going to show up for it.
Yes.
And I might make a
Yes.
mistake, by the way. I might fail and learn from it, right? But I'm going to use
Mm.
my tools and fully be present to being as ready as I can be for every single thing that comes before me. And also going after those goals, going after those dreams, like really chasing them. I know you have such a special gift and like hearing what's coming through on your show, and I loved being interviewed by you, and I can't wait for that to drop. We'll put the link in the show notes for that too, so you can check out Dana's show and hear that interview. But I know you also have a special gift for our listeners. Can you tell us a bit more about that and how they can find you and all those good things?
Absolutely. And so this gift is for a very specific person. Uh, I work with women specifically. So if you're a woman, you qualify. Hooray, the first box is checked. But the women that I have been able to support and serve in the most profound ways have a couple of things in common. One is they know that they're on the verge of a breakthrough. What does that even mean? For me, it looked like, hey, listen, I'm in a good spot. I feel pretty good about what's going on in my life, but there's this push on the back of my heart or the back of my
Mm,
throat or the back of my stomach that's like, hey, there's this next thing that you're supposed to be doing. And then there's that hesitancy of like, are you sure? Maybe now's not the right time. But then there's that echo of, I have to do this. I have
mm,
to do this. So it's looked
mm,
like I have to start this podcast, or I have to figure out this health issue, or I have to create this speaking tour so that I can do the thing and use my voice and welcome in revenue because of it. I have to write
mm,
this short story. I have to record this album. And it wasn't like I gave them the idea. All I do is hold really powerful, energetic space for the jump between I have to and I did.
mm.
And so that
So
calls
good.
in a very specific, I'm ready to go. And I don't hold hands, I link arms, and then we run. We run. So it's not therapy. We're not going to go too far back in the past unless it serves us in linking arms and running to create a life that you feel yes about, where you can't help but create the thing where you say, I did it. I did the
Mm,
thing.
so
And
good.
all that
Speaking
is
of
like,
the thing,
yeah.
oh,
Oh,
I
the
was just
thing,
gonna
right.
say,
So the invitation is if that speaks to you and you want some space to really speak into it, the gift is a 90-minute conversation, you and me. And the only goal of that conversation, it's no strings, is to give voice to the thing that you know you're supposed to be doing, and then to give you a tool and a reminder of what you have available to create it right now in the presence of
mm,
somebody who's going to look at you and call out your fake news, the things we might be selling ourselves, and who's going to link arms, and we're going to run together towards you got to do it too, you did it. It's a
mm.
really sacred time. I've been in those this morning and I feel like I might be made of light right
Yes.
now.
Yes, you are totally made of light, and it is rubbing off on me, and I'm feeling the glow, and our listeners too. So if you feel inspired by this, I'm just going to encourage you to hop in those show notes. If they're listening and they're walking and talking, do you want to just share your website where they could go and find you?
My favorite place to be found is Instagram. So you can at Girls Who Recover. You can also come hang out with me on the podcast. It's where I have the most fun is podcasting. So whatever feels like the right fit, you can also DM me directly on Instagram and we'll book that call.
Amazing. Dana, as we close, is there anything we haven't covered in the space of I'll have what she's having that you want to make sure we put on the menu or on the table today?
I want to answer this question that comes up with a lot of women. And the question is like, me, really? Like, do you mean me? You mean that's possible for me? And the answer, with all the velocity and audacity that I can muster, is yes, you. Yes, you. I'm not looking behind you. I'm not looking to your left. I'm looking you in the soul space of your eyes and saying, yes, you. You get to decide yes now. That's you.
Yes, you, baby. All right. Hats off to you, Dana. Oh,
What a blast.
girls who recover. You guys heard it here. And until next time, look yourself in the mirror, give yourself a big fat yes, or better yet, pull out those voice notes and hear yourself saying yes. What are you saying yes to? What is that thing? And maybe go a little deeper with a longer call with Dana. So thank you so much. I feel so blessed by this time with you. And listeners, if you loved this, please share it with a friend, subscribe, follow, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, Kat.
Ciao.